Welcome to the All About You podcast. Today, my guest is Karolina, and we are going to be talking about burnout and recovery. Now, Karolina, my guest, does a lot of work with women because women tend to wear a lot of different hats. And I really want to explore this world with Karolina because we hear a lot of information about self care. Self care to somebody is the fluffy blanket, the steaming hot drink, and the candle. But sometimes that just doesn't work. Carolina, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me, Sheila.
Now, Carolina, you're going to do a far better job in introducing yourself than I would. So, can you explain why you're doing what you're doing and helping other women?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm a well-being coach and I support moms, women in reducing stress and simplifying their daily routine so they can start practicing self-care guilt-free. And everything started with my own experience about 8, 9 years ago. I had a really nasty burnout. The background is I was brought up in a culture where to be a good mom, to be a good friend, to be a good wife means to be there all the time for everyone else and saying yes all the time. And being tired, being exhausted is almost like a badge of honor until your body, one day, your body says, well, actually, I've got enough and I don't want to. I don't want to do it any longer. So yeah, one day I woke up thinking I'm getting ready for work. I could hardly get up because my body was refusing. Then I was typing something. It was the early start of the day, and I was typing something at work, and I suddenly could feel my cheeks being wet. And I realized that I was crying, but I was so detached with myself that I wasn't even aware that I was crying. So that was the point when I thought, okay, I really need to do something about it. So I found my GP. I was signed off with stress at work, burnout, but I felt so guilty because at that time I was working as a mental health specialist. So I should know better. But here I am, off sick, with stress, burnout. Um, and I started, like most of us, I wanted to heal very quickly. The sooner the better because of the guilt. But the more I was doing, the worse I felt. So again, I had to sit down and ask myself, what's going on? And then I realized that self-care is not about how much you do, how often you do, but it's about what works for you, what you need in that particular moment. So I went back to basics, started asking myself question, really simple question. What do I need here and now? Sometimes it was cup of tea. Sometimes it was binge. Sometimes it was going on a walk. Sometimes it was talking to a friend. Sometimes it was just sitting on a couch and crying. That's self-care too. And I realized that we live in a world where wellness industry introduces us to this luxurious, time-consuming self-care ideas. Smelly candles, spa days, and we totally forget about very simple things like make sure that you eat 3 times a day. Make sure that you have hot meal at least once a day. Make sure that you have a cup of tea or coffee without any distractions during the day. And cookie cutter approach didn't work for me. That's why I'm so passionate about self-care now, because I really think it's not a cookie cutter approach. Cookie cutter approach makes you feel like a failure and makes you feel guilty even more because you think, why is it not working? I've been doing everything what they told me to do and it's not working. It's because cookie cutter is not working for everyone.
I mean, there are so many things I want to unpick with you there, Carolina. Life admin, technology, the speed of life in general is just making us all dizzy. And I keep hearing when you greet somebody, how are you? And the first response is busy. We don't say we're fine, we just say busy. And busy is different for everybody. And I think one of the things that you said in your short introduction there was basically what you need today to feel better is not necessarily what's going to work for you tomorrow. And I
Yes.
think for a lot of women, it's asking that question, what do I need now? Even if the answer is, I need a piece of chocolate or I'm going to kill someone.
Yeah.
It's what you need now. And I think we are particularly talking about women here. Women are wearing so many hats, and we
Mm,
all want to do the best for ourselves, our careers, our family, our friends. We want to try and be everything for everybody. And stress and burnout is very much a slow burn. It comes
yeah.
and wallops you when you're at the end of the road. But okay, I'm not sleeping well, or my skin's not, my skin's starting to act up, or I've put on a few pounds, or I've lost a few kilos. It's all a bit of a slow burn. And it's
Mm,
not until, like yourself, you got to the end of that road and the tears flowed and you thought, what the heck is going on?
mm.
We don't want anyone to get to the end of that road.
No, we don't. And I think it's really sad that we find ourselves in a position that burnout makes us reevaluate our life, our values, our priorities. Why can't we do it without reaching that point? That's that's what I'm really passionate about. And I can see, with my daughter, she's 15 now. And for me, when I had my burnout, that was second time when I had burnout. First time I didn't even know that it was a burnout, to be honest. But the second time I was very aware what's happening. And that was the time when I thought, I really don't want my daughter going through the same thing in the future. I really don't want her to be a woman I am at the moment. I wanted to give her a really good example. And this is paying off now because I can see how her approach towards self-care is totally different. She really values herself and her time, and she really looks after herself. And for her, it is natural and she doesn't feel guilty.
I think that's a
That's
big,
hope.
I think it's very interesting what you brought up is sort of the guilt because no is a very tiny word, but it's a
Mm,
very powerful word.
mm,
And whenever we sort of say, well, as much as I would like to do this, go to this place, be this person, all these other different options, sometimes we just have to say, okay, is it going to give me value? Will I enjoy it? Will I feel happy that I've said yes to this thing, whatever it is? Or
mm,
am I better saying no? And I'm going to treat myself to an early night and a good book, etc. So we've got this expression FOMO, the fear of missing out.
Mm,
Sometimes, yes, you're going to miss out, and these things happen, but occasionally it's better to miss out, but to feel that you've just got that little bit of time to sort of, oh, this is what I need. As much as I'd have liked to have been at this event, this is what I need.
yeah. I tell you something interesting. The other day, I was listening to, I cannot remember whether it's podcast or some video training, that doesn't matter. But the lady who was running it said, okay, there is FOMO, fear of missing out, but what about fear of missing out of joy? What do you
That's a
think she
good
said about
one.
it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. So instead of sort of thinking, oh, I'm missing out on the party, but oh my God, I am so happy sitting here with my book,
yeah,
an early night, and yeah, yeah, absolutely. But this
yeah.
is a big question, isn't it? What do I need now? And it's very much, as you say, this cookie cutter. We see all these images. And I think
Mm.
since the pandemic, self-care has just exploded.
It has. It has, but not necessarily in the right um, direction. I think there is still a lot of misunderstanding what self-care is, and that's the big part of it. We are more aware that self-care is important, and we try to put it in our routine. But if you don't fully understand what it really means to you, it will be very difficult to get there, I think.
I mean, Carolina, we see these images of the cookie cutter, the fluffy blanket, the steaming hot drink, and the candle. Let's move away from that. Let's talk about some of the options which are self-care. For me, it's things like going to bed ridiculously early, but I'm going to read my book for an hour and remember what I'm reading and understand it, as opposed to trying to read late at night and reading the same sentence over and over and over
Yeah.
again. What are some of the examples of self-care which is not cookie cutter?
When you know yourself well, you really know what works for you. So for you is early night and reading a book. I'm an introvert. So for me, early night and reading a book is ideal scenario. That's the evening. When I was recovering, there was loads of ideas on social media like boot camp, get up at 5 o'clock and start exercising. For me, that's the punishment. But me going on, I don't know, twice a week for yoga classes, this is my self-care. But it's also for me making sure that I eat well during the day. That when I'm stressed, I reset my nervous system here and now instead of waiting by the end of the day, or even worse, by the end of the week. We tend to, wait for a weekend to start breathing. We tend to wait for an annual leave to start breathing. No, here and now, here and now. So my self-care routine is very different every day. There are parts where are set, like healthy eating, but there are parts which are moving because today I feel more energetic, so I can do more. I can go for a longer walk, for example. But yesterday, I felt like a flat pancake. I had no energy. So what did I do yesterday? Sitting on a sofa, I watched something on Netflix about Victoria Beckham,
Mm-hmm.
and I went on a walk with my friend, and that was enough.
I think it's very interesting, isn't it, when you say know yourself? Because I sometimes think when we are stressed and we know, okay, spoke a little bit, I felt ratty when somebody asked me for something, and I know I've eaten too much chocolate today because I just didn't get myself organized in buying some bananas, which I would
Yeah,
normally have. And it's those little things you think, okay, why didn't I buy the bananas? Oh, I didn't get a chance to go to the supermarket. Why didn't I get supermarket? Because I this happened, this happened. So when you
yeah,
sort of go back, you think, okay, because of this thing that happened, that's number one. Number two, number three, number four meant number nine, I couldn't go to the supermarket and get those bananas. And I would
yeah,
much rather have had a banana. I would have enjoyed it. It was better for me. But no, because I've had to go to machine and buy some chocolate because of all these things that happen, which were sort of out of the routine and didn't
yeah.
enable you to get things that make you feel good.
Knowing yourself means you know your triggers. Knowing yourself means you know your values, you know what's important to you. Knowing yourself means you you set boundaries,
Mm.
and it's also important to recognize whether you're an introvert or extrovert. For some people, it may seem trivial, but actually it's really important because an introvert needs something different to recharge and reset their nervous system than an extroverted person. That's also important because if you're, for example, you're not aware that you're an introvert, you will be triggered all the time because you will be overstimulated all the time.
That's very interesting. I've written down this word trigger because that is a very, very good indication, as in know yourself, know what are your triggers. If
Yeah,
you know, if you've got the bananas in your desk drawer, okay, when I get hungry, I can reach for a banana, everything is good. If you haven't got those bananas, you're going to fill yourself up with sugar. You know that's not what you would normally like. You know it's going to do you any good. So that's going to stress you out before you even put that piece of chocolate in your
yeah,
mouth because I failed for whatever reason. I didn't go and get my bananas.
yeah. And then you go into this vicious circle of guilt tripping yourself,
Yeah.
putting
And it can
pressure
lead into
on
that
yourself.
spiral. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. Absolutely.
yeah. But knowing your triggers really helps. So I, for example, know that when I get cranky in the evening or I start nitpicking something in my daughter's room in the evening, that means that I'm tired. And that means that this is time for me to move myself from my daughter's room and do something with for myself to reduce that stress here and now. So, for example, take a few deep breaths. And then when I feel that I'm okay, I feel a little bit better, I feel grounded, I know why I'm nitpicking, and then I can go back, say, I'm sorry I was nitpicking, I'm tired, so let's have just a quick chat and say goodnight and yeah, go to bed. Because
Mhm.
we have this routine that in the evening we spend a lot of time together, catching up about the day and our guinea pig and other things. But sometimes I'm like, oh, stop talking to me.
And it's interesting you said earlier that as women, we often think, okay, I'm really busy at work, I'm running to the supermarket, I'm doing the taxi service for my family,
Mhm.
da 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 da. And then we think, okay, at the weekend, I will chill out, I relax. But then you think, okay, I'm still taxiing. You might be visiting elderly
Mm.
parents, or if you're single, you know,
Yeah,
you've still got a social life to maintain. You've still got to go to the supermarket, run your errands and appointments.
yeah.
So we often think, okay, I'll just put that on the back burner because I've got this project at work or I've got this
Mhm.
social engagement. And then we get to the weekend, which in theory should be our, okay, this is my me time. Ah, yeah, but I've agreed to do this and I've agreed to host that and I've agreed to do something else. Yeah.
Yeah, and I have to clean the house.
Yeah.
Few few years ago, I said to myself, I refuse doing any cleaning on Saturdays because that was the norm in my mom's house. Every Saturday, most of the day, it was cleaning. I didn't like it and I didn't want to do it in my home. And I don't do cleaning on Saturdays. I do rest over the weekends. However, before my burnout, I used to, it's really sad. I used to take annual leave to clean my house, to do
Yeah.
spring cleaning. How
Yeah.
sad is that? Because if I
Yeah.
was taking time off for myself, I felt guilty.
Yeah. I think an interesting thing as well, sort of going back to life admin seems to be getting more, you almost feel like you've got another full-time job, keeping
Mm,
up with your life admin, whether you're a single, whether you're in a couple, whether you've got a family.
yeah.
And we sort of think, okay, I've got everything done. I've cooked. I've loaded the dishwasher. I've washed up. I've got myself organized for tomorrow. I'll sit down. And then we sort of look at the TV or we've got our phones or we're on
Mm.
social media. That really doesn't help, does it? And I'm having so many conversations with people who were saying, I'm intentionally going back to a book I hold in my hand as opposed to reading on an iPad or a
Yeah.
phone, because a lot of people are still in front of screens all day, whether they're in an office or whether you work from home. A lot of people, I think, are taking the shift back to a paper book because for them it feels more tactile, it's more rewarding and it's not replacing the screen in your office to a screen on your phone or your iPad to read.
Yeah. Yeah, screening is the time we use on screens is really scary, to be honest. I cannot relate to that fully because I don't do it. I'm not a social media person. Um, and we have this family joke that after 24 hours, I look at my phone and I say to my husband, "Oh, you rang me? Yeah, yesterday." Because that's how I'm not attached to my phone. Yeah, I have it, but if you want to get rid of me, get rid of me, you need to contact my husband because I can respond in a week. But what happens is because we are so tired, we tend to go and reach for passive coping strategies, which is watching Netflix or TV or scrolling on the phone. What we don't understand is although passive activities are needed, if you don't implement active activities, um, this is not going to work. It becomes, you become very passive and using your phone is like an addiction. Whether you're reaching for a glass of wine in the evening, every evening, or you're reaching out for a cigarette or the e-cigarette or binge eating, those are addictions. And it's the same with the screen. You want more, more, and more. You don't realize that it's not good for you. So when we feel really, really tired, we think that this is our way of switching off. But actually, this is the freeze mode where you tell your brain, yeah, we are in a freeze mode. Um, we have no energy to do anything else. We have no energy to think. And it's ongoing thing. I'm not saying it's bad because when you are in a state like burnout state, don't push yourself to start being active straight away. But be aware that at some point it is important to start implementing active coping strategies. And active means go for a walk, even if it's 5 minutes, or go to the garden for 2 minutes. Just move your body, or shake your hands just to make a movement. This is active.
I think this is so true. I think just the power of stepping out into the fresh air, even if it's go to your garden or look at the plant you've got in your house, appreciate the leaves and the colours. You're taking your eyes away from a screen, actually sort of looking at something different, appreciating nature. And we are just talking about someone just looking at a plant. If you get the chance to go out and have a walk around the park, a walk around the car park if you're at work, get a bit of fresh air in your lungs, get your eyes away from the screen. And I remember in corporate, it is so easy to stay and eat your lunch at your computer, your
Oh yeah,
coffee break at your computer, and literally you can just be sitting down for hours and hours on end.
mhm,
And you just don't even realize it's not until the end of the day you get up
yeah,
and your body feels all creaky and yeah.
yeah. There's loads going on, and you mentioned plant. This is meditation. This is mindfulness. But again, we not fully understand what meditation is. For a lot of people, meditation or mindfulness is a woo-woo where you sit in a lotus position, oming. I'm gonna be honest, I thought the same. I tried that, didn't like it at all. I'm like, this is not working for me. This is rubbish. But then I discovered that that doesn't have to be that way. Mindfulness is, yeah, focusing on here and now. So looking at my cup, what colors are there? Is my tea hot or cold? When you go outside, look at what's around you. That's mindfulness because you're focusing on what's happening around you here and now. And meditation doesn't have to be sitting and umming for 10 minutes. Spend a minute or two just being with yourself. That's meditation. But for a lot of people, this is very difficult because that means that you need to sit down with your emotions. And
I
that's
think
another
that's
thing.
so true. We're talking about the fluffy blanket and the hot drink and the meditation. That is one form. If that works for you, that's absolutely
Yeah,
great. But for other people, absolutely not. But it's just really just taking 5 minutes and go, okay, preferably with a pen and pencil or piece of paper, not your phone, jot down what just gives you that little bit of space to breathe? Is it, cuddling your cat for a few minutes? Is it
mm,
listening to your favorite piece of music? Is it just stepping outside for a few minutes? But just taking a few minutes to work out what
yeah,
things make you feel better And then if
Yeah.
you've got that list, okay, I need something. What shall I have? I don't want to reach for the chocolate. I know I'm going to cuddle my cat for 5 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. There's nothing wrong with chocolate as long as it's not your main coping strategy.
Yes, exactly.
So, everything we talk about balance, we talk about harmony, but I think everything what's out there is for us. However, having that conscious realization in your head, okay, chocolate is not going to solve my problems. This is like a plaster. What is it that I'm reaching for that chocolate? Is it every time when I'm stressed, I'm reaching out for a chocolate? Okay, so what's happening? What causing that stress? And is there anything else I could use apart from chocolate to reduce that stress? Sometimes it can be, setting boundaries at work and saying, actually, I'm not going to stay till 6 o'clock today. We agreed that I work 9 to 5 and I'd like to stick to it. This is hard. I'm not saying it's easy. This is very, very hard. But a few weeks ago, I was working with a lady, and she came to me because her main goal was to be better manager for her team, and she wanted to better support her managers. But during sessions, she realized and recognized that that wasn't the problem. She was already supporting her team, she was already supporting her manager. But because she was a people pleaser, she constantly was looking for a fault in herself. Her team wasn't happy, so she was thinking, I'm a bad manager because I'm not able to help them. When she realized that she's not responsible for her employees' emotions and expectations, that was like, whew, I can breathe. When she realized that saying no doesn't mean losing relationships, quite the opposite. You gain in the relationship. She was like a new person.
Mm.
She was absolutely new person. And when she looked at her first goal when she came to me to work with me, she was, I cannot believe I put that. And I
Wow.
cannot believe that behind that was actually me being a people pleaser.
I mean, this is it. This is why the information you're giving, Carolina, is so interesting, isn't it? Because you're taking an overview of the problem. You've got your own experience, which you can draw from.
Mm,
Carolina, this is such a big topic. Where can
mm.
people get in touch with you if they want to work with you or they want more information?
So I am on LinkedIn under Karolina Ross. My website, www.karolinaross.com. And I have an email, hello@karolinaross.com. So it's easy to remember. And that's where you can find me. I am a little bit on Facebook, but like I say, I'm not a social media person.
Well, Carolina, I shall put all the links to your website, your LinkedIn, and everything with the podcast.
Thank you.
I know we've only scratched the surface here, Carolina, but at least we've got the information as well for people to get in contact with you and have an initial conversation about working with you. Carolina, thank you so much for such an interesting podcast. And I've written down triggers, so definitely I'm going to sit down and go, okay, what sets me off and what are good things to sort of bring me back to, a good
Mm.
baseline. Carolina, thank you so much for being a guest on the podcast.
Thank you very, very much for having me. And if I can add, I have a little gift, which is a toolbox of few ideas of active coping strategies which you can use here and now. They are not cookie cutter approach, so you can try what works for you and see whether that would work for you. So I I would really encourage you to try that.
Oh, thank you. And I'll include the link to that in the podcast. Karolina, thank you.
Thank you very much, Sheila.
I really hope you enjoyed that podcast. I know we only scratched the surface with Karolina, but I think she gave such useful information there. So please get in contact with Carolina and click on the link for her free gift, which is absolutely brilliant. So thank you for listening. Please subscribe for future episodes on whatever platform you are listening. It is free. And please don't forget to share this to the other women in your life who need to hear this conversation. And if you have a story to tell, please contact me on allaboutyoupodcast@yahoo.com.